Well, greetings and welcome to the British Suplex Show. I am Shawn alongside my tag team partner David, and welcome to our new venture as we explore the world of professional wrestling across the pond. For myself, I need a tour guide, and I got the best tour guide in the world, David of the Smart Mark. David, how are you doing?
Oh, well, I'm excited. Let's just put it like that. I'm excited, Sean. A great new project of yours. Good idea. Going back to the SNME days when they had the very poor British version of their podcast, but this won't be poor by any stretch of the imagination because it's you and myself, and we're back on the wagon.
True. And what I thought we would do is give you guys a sneak preview of the British Suplex Show by doing our top 5 British professional wrestlers of 2024 and 5 bold predictions. So, David, your choice. Do you want to do predictions or do you want to do the wrestlers?
We'll do the wrestlers, I think. Let's do the wrestlers.
To start here because I got my piece up in handy. So, coming in at number 5 for 2024, you know this gentleman. I've been pounding the desk for this gentleman. Man like Darius. He has had 2 opportunities to gain that Progress World title. Has come oh so close, but he has had one heck of a 2024, and he comes in as my 5th ranked British wrestler of the year.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Great showing. He's going to be a Progress World Champion at some point, and like all the guys that I've picked up, some are worldwide, and they will be worldwide, and that's another one that will be a worldwide star, possibly in 2025.
I agree with you, David. If you're not on board of the Man Like Darius buzz yet, you better get started now. Buy in low because this gentleman is going to hit the roof soon.
Yeah, 100%. I can't. We set us off. I think in this, whilst we do occasionally bicker and disagree, I don't think today's going to be one of those days.
We will see about that. So, David, your number 5 pick is one Jordan Oliver.
Yeah, I've slightly cocked up here because when we discussed this, I didn't realise it was British, so I picked Jordan Oliver from GCW, actually, who I think will be a worldwide top wrestler of the year. But my replacement would have been Connor Mills if you'd have asked me to be pressured, and I would start with someone I haven't used as well, and he's sort of like kicking. He's kicking against the tide up in Glasgow. ICW have also got great performances this year out of Kenny Williams, the former NXT UK star, been in NXT, and had a little run over in the States, but has I've been let go, come back, and he's now the ICW World Champion, and in a company that unfortunately is struggling at the moment. He is outstanding.
Well, David, I like both of your choices. Jordan Oliver is one heck of a professional wrestler here in the United States, and he is making headways in game-changing wrestling. And he's going to have a bright 2025, and he's like another blue chip stocking you need to look at. And Connor Mills. What can we say about Connor Mills? The dude is jacked, has a mean streak, and I wouldn't want to face him to save my life.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment in professional wrestling, if you're a good heel, you've got a chance. It's baby faces that the world of wrestling is struggling with at the moment, in my opinion.
Well, allow me to introduce you to my number 4 pick, as I have selected the most dominant female in British professional wrestling / probably professional wrestling, as Rio makes her way onto my list at number 4. And she's so close to overcoming the reign of Jenny. She's like probably 47 days the last time I saw it from eclipsing the longest reign of the uncrowned Progress champion,
I'm not in love with, well, as you know, Rio's about, not quite, but about to make an appearance in my list. Best women's wrestler, um, maybe bar Rhea Ripley in the world at the moment. If she doesn't get picked up by a major American company, I don't know who will. I really don't. She's fantastic. She looks mean. She is mean. She can do it in the ring. She really can. She looks convincing, which is the big thing with women's wrestling at the moment. Looking convincing. You look at Survivor Series that's just gone, and some of the stuff that happened in that just doesn't look convincing. Rio does.
Oh, yes, she does. And I can't wait to see what she does in 2025. Let's look at your number 4 pick, a gentleman who almost made my list, and I had a hard time limiting myself to 5 people because I would have mentioned his name and he would have appeared. It's Joe Hendry.
Yeah, look, I've watched Joe for years and years and years up in ICW. It is such a pleasure to see that gimmick. Yeah, very good. Yeah, well, get over. The songs, the parodies, the intros, they're all very clever, very funny. Bear in mind, at the end of the day, you can sing, you can play guitar, or hold a tune, shall we say, and play guitar. He is a former Commonwealth wrestler, in Greco-Roman style for Scotland in the Commonwealth Games. So his background is in actual real wrestling before he learned the art of pro wrestling. He's got over with one of the toughest crowds that you can get in world wrestling, which is the TNA crowd. Then made the transition to NXT on that mutual contract basis between the two companies. So one night he was in on WWE television, the next night he was on TNA television. To do that, it's just a shame that because of that, he didn't become the TNA World Champion. However, I understand why. He's been outstanding. I mean, literally, he's not put a foot wrong, and he's done it all off his own back. He nearly had a number one record with his theme music here in the UK. Um, he's not done a lot wrong in 2024.
I would, if I was TNA, I would have literally put the title on him, even though I got a feeling that he may be making his way to WWE in 2025. I feel like they could have had a chance there during the summer to put the title on him as he was coming up in popularity over here in the States. And I feel like that's one opportunity TNA missed.
And you don't know whether they've had a choice or not. The fact that they've got out of Joe Hendry, what they've got out of Joe Hendry, Sean, is a bonus. He, without a doubt, and I'm going to come on to talk about TNA, has put bums on seats for them and done them well. So, yeah, he seems happy in the way he's being utilised, which, let's face it, for modern day wrestlers is a good thing because there's not many of them that are like that.
Very fair point. Allow me to move on to my number 3 pick for the year as I decide to say, now we play. As I picked Michael Oku as my number 3 pick. And the only reason he's number 3 is he's lost his undisputed British championship to your guy, Luke Jacobs. So without a title, I had to lower him down a couple of pegs. But still, if I had to pick somebody to put my house on the line in the match for, I'm taking Michael Oku.
Kayfabe is alive and well in Knoxville. It really is. Brilliant. Now, this is what I've not picked again. A bit like you with Joe Hendry. Michael Oku has had a standout year, and yet he isn't whispered in, if you like, the tunnels of some of the guys that we're probably going to mention coming forward. Standout match with Will Ospreay on Will Ospreay's last match before going to AEW, which got him a lot of eyes, which rightly so as well. The only reason I've not picked him, principally, is that I don't think he'll break through in 2025. I think he'll still remain in Red Pro. There's not as many eyes on him as there are other British talent.
Well, I gotta say, he's gonna be somebody's dark horse, and he'll be my dark horse
Yeah.
as he'll prove me right in 2025 that he's going to have a stellar freaking year.
Yeah, you're right, mate. I mean, it's good enough.
And honestly, David, I might like the match he had to get with Luke Jacobs just a little bit more than the one he had against Will Ospreay. They were both in my list of top matches of the year.
Yeah. Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that at all.
Okay, my friend, let's move to your number 3 pick of the year. And your number 3, you have her just a little bit higher than I did as we go back to Rio, and I don't doubt you whatsoever for having her ranked a little bit higher.
We haven't got to say anymore. She's picked the top European wrestlers this year and put a performance in against everyone. The woman is extremely talented and she needs to be on a bigger stage. And I don't normally like that or say that, but she needs to be, absolutely needs to be on a bigger stage.
I agree with you. I feel like 2025 may be a coming out party for Rio. And the question comes to us, does she hold a title long enough to beat Jenny's reign as Progress Women's Champion? David, do you say yay or nay?
Oh God, yeah. She's don't unless she's being unless she has been picked up, Progress get an offer that they can't refuse. Or whoever, she gets an offer she can't refuse. She won't drop that title for the foreseeable future, or shouldn't.
Okay, so let's move to my number 2 wrestler of the year. And it pains me to pick this guy, but the guy has had one hell of a back of the 2024 year as I'm going to the current Progress and Red Pro champion, Luke Jacobs, the modern day Stan Hansen. What can I say? The dude just beats people up for fun.
I, I'll talk about it when he comes up on my list. But you're right. And for you to acknowledge that, I know you're playing into the heel character with him. And you like some of his opponents just that little bit more, want to see him beaten. But there's only one person I can see taking that title from him, and he isn't wrestling at the moment. And you know who I mean. But I'll talk about Luke a little bit more in a minute.
Okay, we'll put a pin in this pick until we get back to your selection of him at whatever number you have him at. Let's go to your number 2 pick of the year. And I kind of like this pick. This was a pick I was kind of supporting during the summer as it is Tate Mayfair.
Right. This is a general all round absolute awesome, humorous heel. Really clever, really witty, almost a British MJF in his promo style, in his heel demeanor, if you will. But then you scratch the surface with Mr. Mayfair, and with the stuff he's done in Africa for people, the fact that he made it onto AEW television this year, he's just brilliant heel. Someone the fans love to hate, and yet I like that. Tightness is greatness. He's had a hell of a year, and I think he could actually, even above all our selections, be the breakthrough British guy in 2025.
David, if you went to a lab and built the perfect professional wrestler, it would be Tate Mayfair. Tate Mayfair would walk out of the glass tube and be like, hello, who else would it be?
Yeah, absolutely. So much to commend him for on this 2024. Again, this is the British Wrestling Review, even though I've got part 2 slightly wrong this week. But look up Tate Mayfair. He's a wonderful heel.
Well, let's move to my number 1 pick because it's no doubt this person should be the number 1 pick of 2024 as I'm going to the New Japan Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion of the World, Zack Sabre Jr. This gentleman won the G1, called his shot before the Tokyo show to get the title. He defended it on home soil and won. And he's heading into Wrestle Kingdom week to face 2 challengers. So, hey, this is Zack Sabre Jr.'s year.
Yeah, I honestly didn't include him quite simply for the reason I consider that Zack Sabre Jr. has made it. He's it's inevitable, unfortunately, before he goes to AEW and gets buried. But I consider Zack Sabre Jr. to have made it a long while ago. You're right. Everything that you've just said is true and extant. He has been a superb ambassador for years, and he's rightly getting the plaudits he deserves this year. But he's not my number one pick.
No, he's not. Because, David, you have selected the guy that you have been shipping all summer long from Superstorm Saw 16. He was your pick. You called it right. The modern day Stan Hansen, Luke Jacobs.
I love that phrase, the modern day Stan Hansen. He's just done everything right. He ticks all the boxes. The promo he delivered, where he put down British, particularly the southern end. He almost started a civil war. The southern end of British wrestling was just, and the Progress crowd. He was right, but playing a character. But everything he said was right. We went into that little grey area of, shoot to, kayfabe promo. It was brilliant. And he's done nothing wrong. Progress have booked him well. And obviously, Red Pro have caught on the bandwagon and letting him go over on Oku, who Oku has done nothing wrong this year. But him and Mayfairs, for me, are two that should leave the UK shores in 2025. Could you imagine now, Shawn, Jacobs going into NXT?
I mean, he would completely dominate the men's division. I feel like.
Book's right. Luke Jacobs going into NXT will be a star.
Yes, if he was booked right, and honestly, put him right in there with against Trick Williams and flow that title onto Jacobs and move Trick up the card to SmackDown or Raw.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You could, and the thing is, Hunter's not stupid. He's got people there that will advise him as such. Regal is aware of Jacob's abilities because he's talked about him on his Gentleman Villain podcast. He is very much in Hunter's ear when it comes regards British stars. So let's hope it happens. Let's really just hope it happens.
Yes, I would totally be in agreement with that. And having Regal run NXT with Shawn Michaels and having Luke Jacobs as your heel world champion, get my popcorn. I'll be sitting down every every Tuesday night watching that show. Yes. So that has been our top 5 wrestlers of 2024 here on the British Suplex Show. Let's have some fun. Let's pull out the crystal ball, look into the future as we're going to make 5 predictions for 2025. They may be bold. They may not be so bold. David, do you want to go first?
Your show, my friend. I will do whatever you tell me.
David, you offered me your first prediction of 2025, saying AEW Dynamite will drop below 400,000 viewers. And I kind of agree with you. I feel like 2025 is going to be a rebuild year for All Elite Wrestling.
Rebuild's a polite way of putting it. I think 2025 is an absolutely crucial year for AEW. The last 2 years of AEW wrestling have been, at best, appalling. They've lost Dragon, even though apparently they looks like they're trying to utilize him to drag it back. With what's happened recently with Australia Grand Slam, they're now, and this is something I'm going to come on to with another one of my predictions, and I'm going to make another point about AEW, about how interest has dropped with them. And purely and simply, it's because of the product. Just purely and simply the product and the booking. It is awful.
David, a couple of weeks ago, me and Ashley were debating if All Elite Wrestling has become WWE light. And honestly, I feel like they have, and it has been the worst thing for their product.
I think comparing it even remotely to WWE this year is an insult to WWE. It's not even that good. I was done with them after the Swerve Hangman match. If they need to resort to put needles in their wrestlers' cheeks, what have you. Um, that's not for me. They're better than that. They've got better talent than that. All right, they might not have any huge stars at the moment. You know, when Moxley's the world champion, that shows how bad the stock has fallen. But they have some talent. If it's booked correctly, could help them out. But Tony can't book. Tony couldn't book a vacation. He's that bad.
I really feel like Tony Khan needs a lot of help when it comes to booking. I feel like he had a 2-year plan, and that 2-year plan ran from the beginning of AEW up to right around the pandemic. And ever since they came back from the pandemic, I feel like they've been trying to refine their magic, and they haven't been able to do it since.
And yet, you're right, you're not wrong. No, not by any means are you wrong. And yet, when they came back from the pandemic, they still had major stars. Every time that they occasionally get someone that the potential is a big star, they built Swerve. Can't fault them. They built Swerve. And what have they done with him? Absolutely kicked him right in the nuts. They've absolutely ruined him. Ospreay came in like a house of fire. What have they done with him? Nothing.
I know. We'll have to see how AEW turns out in 2025. Allow me to do my number 5 prediction as I go to TNA Wrestling, and I'm predicting Xyla Brookside will win the TNA Knocks Out title by the end of 2025. And David, I'm still puzzled how the WWE never brought her over to NXT right after the close of NXT UK. They brought some talent over. I'm going like, cute blonde, well in the ring, good on the mic. She's perfect for the WWE system and no feints. So she ends up in TNA. I'm like, score TNA.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, in this section, I'm going to talk about TNA in a bit. But yeah, I couldn't disagree with that more. Somebody has dropped the boat, and TNA have come. Thank you very much.
Now, this prediction has become more bold in the last 24 hours as Tessa Blanchard has returned to Impact Wrestling. And Impact, if you're watching this, Xyla Brookside versus Tessa, please, thank you.
Yeah. The women's locker room in TNA is now not safe. It's not a safe working environment anymore. Allegedly.
I'm going to say, hey, look, everybody deserves a second chance.
Yeah,
let's see what Tessa does here forward. I feel like she's done some redemption. And it seems like TNA is willing to give her a second chance.
And she's a talent.
And yeah. I mean, you cannot argue. She's a talent. Let's see how this plays out. But
yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. You're ever so nice.
But if you haven't seen a Xyla Brookside match, you need to go out your way to YouTube, watch Xyla Brookside, and you'll understand why I'm pounding this freaking death still.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, David, we are moving to your number 4 selection, your 4th prediction of the year. And your 4th prediction is TNA officially becomes the number 2 company in North America, the United States.
Right, and this is how I'm basing this. I've watched a lot. I've got, because of Joe Hendry, I got drawn back into TNA because I've always been a Joe Hendry fan, and I'm watching Impact, and I'm watching particularly the pay-per-views more than Impact. And I'm like, you know what? These are all right. They're all right. They're certainly better than most AEW shows. And now you look at what's going into 2025 for Slammiversary. I think it's Slammiversary anyway. One of the bigger ones. They put the home venue of the New York Islanders, which is a 20,000 seater indoor arena. Whereas TNA are obviously infamously cutting back on the size of their arenas. TNA are booking bigger arenas. They've sold out. Bound for Glory was a complete success towards the back end of 2025 and a decent show. You've got the odd surprise at the moment, like they brought in, and it's still an ongoing storyline with John Bradshaw Layfield. Nick Nemeth, whilst he wouldn't be my personal favourite world champion, has done nothing wrong, but he is so white meat, it's untrue. But he's a name, he's a world champion, he's carrying the belt well, and obviously he's a former WWE world champion. So they've got a name like TNA, except the one in TNA, like AEW, they've got a former WWE World Champion as their head, except in TNA, the one can wrestle, whereas the one in AEW is just a deathmatch goon. So I genuinely think, with a little bit of luck and more people realizing that AEW is garbage and want a bit of wrestling, TNA could actually pick up and take over as the number 2 company in the States.
Well, we'll have to see how this plays out in the coming year. Now, here on out might get really, really bold because my number 4 prediction of 2025, you might hate this one. Rio does not beat Jenny's record as Progress Women's World Champion. Now, granted, I might be biased.
Oh, no. She should, but I could see them doing it. I think, yeah, we've already gone through this, and I could see it happening. Progress don't make many mistakes booking-wise. They don't. So if they decide to not let and someone goes over Rio, it will be for a good reason. It won't just be willing, it won't just be for an extra 1,000 viewers. I hope they don't, but I can see it happening. I can see your point.
And I think the person that takes the title from her is your girl, Alana Austin.
Well, that would make sense. That would make sense because you're going to an out heel that the crowd don't hand. She's well known in Europe. She's a very talented lady, whether you like her or not, and she's got a lovely singing voice.
Yes. I've been officially sent over a text saying that she's the unofficial Eurovision champion of 2025.
Well, yeah, obviously.
So let's move on to your number 3 prediction of the year, David. And let me slide down here. Your number 3 prediction. This one I can see happening is Vince McMahon being convicted.
I don't see how he can, even with all his money and all his power and his lawyer and what have you, I don't see how he can get away with it. I really don't.
See, I can see him being convicted. I just don't think he'll ever serve any jail time.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. I hadn't really gone through that. You could, let's face it. When one of your best mates is Donald Trump, you've got a good chance of staying out of jail, haven't you?
The American legal system, weird things have happened. So you can literally be convicted and become the United States president. So Vince McMahon can get convicted but not serve jail time.
Hey, well, let's face it, Linda's in the cabinet, so there's no reason why I shouldn't be.
So we're moving on to my number 3 prediction of the 2025. And like I said, I've been going bold from here on out. And my number 3 one might shock Progress Wrestling to the core, as I'm taking Spike Gervais and Cardinal Wall to win the Progress tag team titles.
Oh, do you know what? That is a doozy, Mr. Burkhead. Do you know what? That hadn't even crossed my mind. I'm expecting. Yeah, that's brilliant. I'd love to see that happen. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Lee McAteer, send this to Lee and Mark Angus.
Honestly, I feel like this would be a interesting storyline to play out through Progress for 2025, as we are seeing Cardinal Wall come back. Spike's been away for a while. Why not unify, have them come together? Cara doesn't win the title from Luke Jacobs. He gets frustrated, and he just kind of turns to the dark side, and Spike's there to help him out, and they become a 2-man power trip.
I'm moist. That's brilliant. That is absolute frigging genius, Sean. I love it. Yeah, I'd love that to happen. Absolutely love that to happen.
Well, David, let's move to your number 3 prediction of 2025. Actually, we'll move to your number 2 prediction, my friend, as I can't count. The American cannot count because of the American educational system. David's second prediction of 2025 is Punk gets his Mania moment, which I agree. I see this coming. The question is, does he get it with Roman or The Rock?
No, I think he gets it with Rollins.
Oh, I love that too. Rollins was my third option, and I think Rollins versus Punk on night one would be great.
I think Rollins is going to beat Gunther before Mania to give that match, and Punk gets his Mania moment. Night one, world whatever title, one of the world titles, and Punk gets his Mania moment on night one. Because as I said, I think I've said my night two prediction, but night one, Punk gets his Mania moment.
Well, I gotta say, I love your number two prediction. You called me a genius about a minute and a half ago. I'm going to put that to a test here because my number two prediction of 2025, I'm staying in progress as I'm predicting Simon Miller becomes Progress World Champion by the end of 2025.
And you put that into wind me up, or do you really think that?
I was going for bold predictions, and I'm going like, he's already the previous champion, and I said by the end of 2025, so I give myself leeway. So
in all seriousness, right, and this is a prediction for me, if that happens, I will not watch Progress while he's world champion. Simple as.
We'll have to see how this plays out, but I was going big. I was trying to hit a home run.
Oh, you did that. You did that. Wasn't a very good one. It really wasn't. It was like the Red Sox getting one over the Yankees. I don't know, no, not for me. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying you're wrong, but God forbid that would be one of my, after a really poor wrestling year, 2024. I'm looking forward to 2025 to go upwards, and that isn't the way forward.
Okay, so we're going to your number one pick of the year. As you're saying, Kevin Owens jumps ship. He becomes all elite.
Yeah, I genuinely believe he will. And I wouldn't be at all surprised that Sami Zayn goes with him.
It depends on whether the contract runs out, but honestly, to me, Kevin Owens has done everything he could possibly do in the WWE, and he's friends with the California crew in AEW. So why not?
Yeah. And honestly, I think it would do AEW good.
It would get eyeballs on their program again because they go, "Oh my God, Kevin Owens jumped the ship and went to AEW." Yeah, that would do an uptick in the programming, and they would have to book well to keep that ride going.
Even though he will be booked abysmally, like everyone else has been, I still think it would be a great signing for AEW if they can actually utilize him properly.
We will have to see. So, David, we're up to the final moment. My number one pick, my number one prediction in 2025. And I have already wound you up so well. So, my number one prediction, you have a guess?
No, I don't want to after the Simon Miller one. I'm still in shock at that.
Okay, my number one prediction, Rio debuts in NXT in 2025 by the end. And can you imagine a NXT women's division with Julia, Stephanie Vacure, Rio is already stacked. It's going to be even more stacked with Rio being in that company.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Couldn't fault it. Wouldn't, yeah, great choice, Shawn. And I hope it's true.
I would love to see her have matches with Rio, Stephanie Vacure, Roxanne Perez. There's a whole list that she could go through in NXT. Right.
Never mind NXT, Mr. Burkhead. Rio versus Rhea.
Oh my God, that would sell tickets. That would be, I would hold off until WrestleMania 2026.
Rio is established. Once Rio is established and the WWE and the North American crowd know what me and you know, that could be one of the best women's matches of all time.
Yes, it would be up there. It would freaking be up there. And oh, hey, why not? Well, we have a chance. Charlotte Flair versus Rio as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you look at some of the decent ladies that are in the main roster of WWE. I'd like to see Rhea versus Bayley, because Bayley had such an unusually poor Survivor Series match, which is unlike her, let's face it. But everyone did. That match was just a cluster, a complete cluster. But when you've got the refrigerator in there, you know you're always going to have issues. But yeah, there's just so many possibilities in there that Rio could just go out and destroy.
I agree with you. I feel like her coming to North America, her being in NXT would be just perfect.
Yeah. Give her 6 months in NXT around March time and then bring her up.
Exactly. Bring her up for Royal Rumble season 2026 and have her win the Rumble.
Oh, 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 why are we wasting in Knoxville and Cambridge? We should.
Well, that has been your very first British Suplex show. If you like this show, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and tell a friend. And until we see you next time, which will be in 2 weeks, as we review unboxing presented by Progress Wrestling, we bid you a fond adieu.